Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new IDontWorkHereLady stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first story is titled, "Okay Lady, I'll load your 12 bags of mulch for you." At a local big box hardware, plumbing, gardening, etc. store, let's call it Blows, picking up a few bags of topsoil for my garden. As I am loading the back of my truck, some woman drives up to the loading area and tells me, "As soon as you're done with that one, I need you to load up my order." She then shoves a receipt at me and gets back into her SUV, where she promptly gets on her phone and starts chatting away. I plan on finishing up my load and leaving, but while I am working, I can hear her on the phone. This store hires the laziest people. The kid they have doing the loading is so slow, so on and so forth. "Okay lady, we will do it your way." I load the back of her SUV with the wettest, nastiest bags of mulch I can find on the piles, being sure to stack them neatly in the back. And also being sure that I slash the back of every bag open with a box cutter. Tell her she is all loaded and hand her back her receipt. "Have a good day, ma'am." "Took you long enough, didn't it?" She slams her door and drives off. Not as long as it's going to take her to clean 480 pounds of moldy wet mulch out of the back of that SUV when she gets home. The next story is titled, "No, I Still Don't Work Here." Yesterday I was at the red-themed big box store. In fact, it was a super bullseye, meaningless fact. All of our Christmas shopping is done. Myso and I were picking up some knick-knack gifts, so hard to shop for those on Amazon, and a few groceries. I was just browsing and my arm gets grabbed and I'm spun to face this older man. I immediately recognize Bob, not his real name. "Hi, Bob." I interrupted his tirade that I mostly didn't hear, fully deaf on the right, 80% on the left. "I see you've still got the scar on your cheek." As I'm saying this, Bob turns pale as a ghost and then runs away. No exaggeration of the term run, either. Fast as he could go. Why? That's the more interesting part. Several years prior to this, I was in this same store, during the same time of year. Now while yesterday, I wearing this make your eyes bleed Christmas sweater. When Bob and I first met, I was wearing a nice Hugo Boss pantsuit. Also, I was as deaf then as I am now. At any rate, I was putting one of those really fancy crock pots that did everything back on the shelf. My mom knew I was wanting one for our kitchen, so I would hold off for now, and if we didn't get one for Christmas, I'd probably be able to find one super cheap in an after-Christmas sale. So, I turned and started to push my cart along and my ponytail got grabbed and yanked hard. Thankfully, it was more discomfort than outright pain. I turn and this guy lets go of my hair. So there is this guy, he's about 6 feet 2 inches, I'm 5 feet 4 inches, by the way, mid-50s, expensive clothes and jewelry. Facing him, I could make out what he's saying. M is me. B is Bob. B. Idiot. How ducking dare you ignore me like that? If I had more time, I'd put you in your ducking place. Now get the duck over here and ducking help me. M. I don't work here, not to mention it seems you're an insufferable prick. Go duck yourself. I turned and started to walk away. B. Do your ducking job. Bob grabbed my arm and swung me around again, getting 3 inches from my face and screaming, spitting, "What the duck is wrong with you? You can't ducking talk to me like that." At this point, Bob made his worst mistake. He knotted up his hand in my turquoise top and raised his other hand like he was going to slap me. At that point, I'd had enough of Bob. I need to mention here that I spent part of my time in the Corps doing hand-to-hand instruction. So Bob and I do for a couple of seconds, and then on the way down, the side of Bob's face hit the edge of the bottommost shelf and laid his cheek open pretty good. I had my knee in his back and his arm torqued up so he wasn't going anywhere. Due to all the noise, Bob screaming, hitting the shelf, etc., there were several people looking to see what happened, including a store associate and myso. I don't remember this part, probably from the adrenaline, but myso swears I told Bob to stop moving so I don't have to hurt him any further. Nor do I remember asking for someone to call the police as this a-hole tried to assault me. Police arrive, I release Bob. I get handcuffed. EMT tries to fix Bob's face. Arguing ensues. Bob claims I attacked him. Claims I'm faking being deaf. My SO asks the police to check the security footage. They do. Bob's arrested and eventually charged with assault. I have to go and fill out a statement, but I'm let go. Bob was found guilty of assault. Didn't see Bob again until yesterday. He was older, heavier, and didn't have the expensive clothes or jewelry this time. I just waved bye-bye as he ran away. It seems that sometimes you really can't teach old dogs new tricks. The next story is titled, Lady Lost Her Mind 'Cause I Wouldn't Clean Her Mat Part 2. So me and my mom go to the gym. The moment we step in I noticed something was off. For one, the owner was there at the desk talking with Mike. When Mike saw us he waved us over. Owner. Mrs. and Miss Redacted, right? We nod. Oh. I heard from Pete, front desk kid, and Mike you had an encounter with another customer last week? Again we nod. He sighs and grabs a paper. I'm sorry that happened, but here is the issue. We don't have pictures with our IDs, so we don't know for sure who was the woman. This is a list of people who swiped in around the time Peter saw her come in. Can you tell me if you recognize her name? I take the paper but shake my head. Me. I'm sorry, but we didn't exchange names. The owner nodded. Oh. Well, here is what we are going to do. Pete isn't here today, so I'm going to sit in on her class. If she comes in, Mike will point her out and I'll talk to her. I promise she will not interact with either of you. Mom. Good, I don't want her near Nancy. We all nod in agreement and head upstairs where the class was. For the first 15 minutes everything is going well. All you could think about was the burning in my legs. Then she walks in. Same as before, she looks around the room. We lock eyes for a second and I see her scowl, before she grabs a mat. Mike sees her and nods to the owner. He begins to walk over to her but she has already got a mat and is pushing people's stuff aside. She is close to me but she isn't pushing my stuff. My mom is playing guard dog and moved her stuff a bit forward so she couldn't look at me. He taps her shoulder. And looks like he asked her to walk out with him. She turns and looks towards us. Probably to glare. But like I said, there is a mother of a wall between me and her. See what I did there? The lady then marches out. I'm gonna be honest, there was a window I could see them talking through, so my workout went at the window. At first the conversation seemed relaxed, very quickly. There was yelling and pointing, at me exact. Mike turned up the music to no distract everyone else. But the die had been cast. She is screaming now and I can't hear everything but, unfair, and, idiot. The owner seems calm but it's clear he is over it. This continues for a bit and then Mike steps out. At this point the whole class is watching this. Mike she trying to calm her down and then she is just yelling at both of them. After a few minutes she calms down. Mike relaxes and she points inside again. Mike goes to the door but she marches past him and back in to grab her water bottle. She leaves the mat. Surprise, surprise. She picks it up and turns to leave, then stops and marches straight up to me. Before she can get to close, my mom steps between us. I love my mom but she is 5'2" and almost 60. This lady looked older but neither woman should be squaring off. This lady is looking at my mother. And then she looks at me. Mike and the owner have now run into the room. Oh. Ma'am, it's time to leave. Why not her? Why just me? Oh, she isn't screaming, ma'am, but it's her fault. She could have said she didn't work here, so just a quick thing, I have anxiety. And I was freaking out at this point. I could feel the panic attack coming. Mom. Walk away. Now. She hasn't moved. Except to get in the way. Both Mike and the owner are trying really hard not to touch her, but Mike steps in front on my mom and begin herding her out the door. That's when we hear it. The sound of a slap. She has slapped Mike. Everyone is quiet. The owner regains his composure. And then it goes down. Alright, I'm calling the cops. We have information and you assaulted my employee. You can leave or wait for the cops, but you will not be coming back here again. She is clearly panicked from what I can see. Mom has not moved. I'm calling my lawyer. ANS begins rattling off. Mike looks around. Alright guys, sorry to cut things short, but class is over. Please clear the area, I'll take care of the gear. My mom herds me away and the lady and I lock eyes. Isn't she leaving? And then me and my mom book it. We go downstairs and my mom leaves her number in case the owner needs it. All the other members are gossiping about it as we leave. In the car, when things calmed down, my panic attack took a bad turn and I have been hanging out at my parents' house till I can go home. Logically I know it's over, but I still hope I won't see that lady again. The next story is titled, "The Pizza Place Printed My Phone Number on Their Coupons." So, this happened back in 2007 or 2008. Not sure if this belongs here, it looks like it might fit. I lived in a small town and my house had really bad cell phone coverage at the time, so I still had a landline for the house, complete with an answering machine. One day I come home to find several phone calls for a regional pizza restaurant on my answering machine. I quickly find that they had printed these mass junk mail flyers with some pretty decent discounts and my phone number. It was a pretty simple mistake. My phone number was XXXXXX4442 and theirs was 4422. I called the pizza place and told them what happened. The manager was nice, and told me he had nothing to do with it, that the corporate office made them up, but he would call them and try to work out a fix. That night I probably got 80 phone calls. I changed the outgoing message on my answering machine to give callers the correct number. More than half the calls I got still left me their pizza order. Who calls for pizza and expects to leave their order on an answering machine? That town has more dumb people than I thought possible, and I already had a low opinion to begin with. This went on for almost 2 weeks. I kept calling the restaurant, and the manager kept telling me they can't get a hold of anyone who can do anything. Finally, I'd had enough when a snowstorm blows through town and the pizza orders go up. Snowy days seem to be busy for food delivery. I start taking orders, writing them down as accurately as I can, and forwarding them to the pizza place through the number listed on their website for home office. At the time, if you called that number after hours, the robot that answered gave you a list of extensions, and eventually I found the one for VP marketing. I wanted president, but meh, close enough. Once I found the extension, I forwarded every call for them I got, like this. "Hello, this is Airborne Chaos again. I have an order for 1 extra large, Goliath pizza, 1 order of cheese sticks, and a bottle of Sprite to be delivered to John Dow at 244 High Street, Smalltown. His credit card number is, insert credit card details here, and his phone number is, phone number. I really hope you can help me get these people their food. This seems to be pretty inefficient. Thanks." I made at least 20 calls like that. I don't remember the exact number, but it wasn't as many as I thought it would be when I made the plan. Nevertheless, the next morning I got a call from the company president. They paid my phone bill for a year, minus long distance, to buy my phone number from me. Honestly, they didn't need to pay my phone bill for a year, just cover the cost of changing the number. But they offered. The next story is titled, "Woman Stops Me at Walmart on My Day Off, and I Throw Up on Her." So I've worked at Walmart for 3 years, and I never experienced any of the rude customers or general craziness associated with Walmart. Well, it's my day off and I happened to get sick to my stomach. I had already thrown up twice, so my mom decided to take me to Walmart to get the things that I need to get better. She insisted that I just stay in bed while she gets the things, but she often got the wrong things, so I decided to go to get them myself. Big mistake. When we arrived, we started to get our things and tried to get out as fast as possible since I was starting to feel really bad. When we were on our way to the checkout, this woman stops us. I recognized her since she was there the day before when I was working. She started to ask me about stuff, and I have to tell her that I wasn't working today. She huffed and said, "You can still help me out. All I want to know is where the dog food is." I point at the direction of the dog food and tried to get out of there because my stomach was starting to hurt. She stops me again and says, "I already looked over there, and I couldn't find it. Just come show me." My mom tells that lady that I'm sick and that I don't have time to go with her, and just find somebody else to help her. She tells my mom to shut up and looks back at me and says, It'll just be a few minutes, come on and help me find it. My mom tells this woman to back off and leave me alone, but the woman is insistent that I help her. Just then it feels like somebody had grabbed my stomach, and started squeezing it, and I started to throw up. Unfortunately for the lady, I had been facing her and threw up all over her pants and shoes. She screamed, but it wasn't stopping and I kept going. She had backed up after I had started, and was screaming for a manager. My mom was holding me while I tried to stop, but the pain in my stomach was too much and I just kept going. One of the cashiers saw what was going on and immediately radioed for a manager and custodian. One of the managers comes over and sees the mess, and the lady is crying to him about how I puked all over her. My mom tells him that I was trying to leave, but the lady wouldn't let me. The manager takes her to the back and the cashier, whom I'm friends with, takes me outside and sits with me while my mom goes to pay for the stuff. I honestly didn't mean to throw up on her, but as soon as it started coming up, I couldn't stop it. I feel bad for the custodian who has to clean up my throw up, and I feel bad for the lady since I hate throwing up and can only imagine how it feels to have someone throw up on you. I'm also dreading the day I have to go back, since I know that this story is going speed like wildfire. Surprisingly enough, the lady ended up admitting that it was her fault since she kept me there when I clearly needed to get out of there. Everything is okay now, but man, was that the most embarrassing moment of my life. The next story is titled, My Baby and I Don't Work Here. There's a small, thrift store for Jesus type store no more than 2 blocks away from my house, and I spend a fair amount of time there. It's cheap, it's close, and babies grow like weeds. I know a couple of the ladies that work there. You try taking a baby to a store staffed by mostly grandmas on a regular basis and not get to know them, and the layout of the store. Fast forward to yesterday. I go to the store, say hello to grandma lady on the cash, exchange mindless chit-chat, blah blah blah. There's only like 3 other people in the store, an old guy and what looks like a middle-aged daughter with her elderly mother. Pretty typical. I start shopping, hanging clothes off the stroller bar, very clearly shopping. Babe leans out of the stroller and pulled some shirts off the rack, so of course I put them back on the hangers and hang them on the bar, and continue shopping. Go over to the toy section and there's the mother-daughter team trying to get a board game off a high shelf. Since I'm much taller than them, I offer to grab it for them, they accept, I hand it over and they thank me. Pretty run-of-the-mill for me. It's rare I go to a store and not help a short person reach something. I make my way over the housewares section and this is where old guy makes his entrance. Old guy holding a blender type thing. Do you check to make sure these things work before you sell them? Me, don't know, but they have a plug near the cash to test things, and I take my stroller and try to walk away. Old guy, how do you not know your own policy? I should point out that the employees dress however they like, but wear a bright red vest with the shop's name all over it. I am wearing a coat and pushing a stroller. Me, I'm sorry, sir, I don't work here. Old guy now very aggressive and a weird purple-red color, bullcrap. I just saw you stocking the shelves and making a sale, don't you lie to me. Me, I'm sorry, I was just picking up after my baby. Makes a gesture to the stroller I'm pushing that has my purchases on it, and helping those ladies. Old guy, oh, I see. You'll help them but you won't help me, eh? Is it because I am a man? Get me your manager. By now, of course, Grandma lady has noticed what was happening and came walking over. Grandma lady, sir, we don't allow people to abuse our customers like this. I'm going to have to ask you to leave if you don't stop. Old guy, she's not a customer, she's an employee. I saw her. Grandma lady, sir, she doesn't work here. Old guy, bullcrap. Me, I don't work here, and neither does my son. It's like he hadn't noticed the baby before, despite the giant stroller I've been holding onto this whole time, because he looks down and his face got even more purple red and he grumbled, bullcrap, and walked away. I finished my shopping, checked out, and had a nice giggle about the whole deal with Grandma lady. The next story is titled, Older Lady Thought I Was Bringing Her a Shopping Cart to Use in the Grocery Store. Yesterday I was running the gauntlet at my local grocery store. I picked up a disinfectant wipe at the door and went to the cart station and wiped down the cart I was going to use. I was finally satisfied, so I started pushing it back to the door to throw away the used wipe just as an old lady comes through the door. She smiles really big and says, "Oh, thank you," and moves to take her cart. I said, "You're welcome." Then I grabbed another wipe and went to get another cart. I'm glad she got a cart I was sure wouldn't give her the virus. The next story is titled, "Are You Goddamn Deaf?" Now I'm usually a very polite, conflict-averse person, but on this particular day I was sleep-deprived and had a horrible day at the office. Drank way too much coffee to compensate and as a result was kinda on edge. It was freezing outside, so on my way home I decided to finally buy a portable heater for my bedroom. I stopped at a hardware store and was crouched down in one of the aisles looking at the various heaters on the bottom shelf. "Hey, I need to find the bathroom fittings," came a voice from behind me. I clearly heard what the woman said, but assumed she was talking to a shop employee somewhere behind me. Clears throat, "Hello, bathroom fittings," she repeated, using that entitled princess gets what she wants tone. I was dressed in suit and tie, so surely she wouldn't be confusing me for a hardware store employee. I kept looking at the heater in my hands. "Hey," she tapped me heavily on the shoulder twice, so I looked back over my shoulder at her. I saw a mid-30s mother, dressed like she's going to meet the president, inch-thick layer of makeup covering her face, holding her 2-year-old on her hip. And she looked pissed. "Yes," was all I got out, not expecting the physical contact. "Are you goddamn deaf? Where are the bathroom fittings?" Like I said, I'm always polite and would never purposefully start a fight with a stranger, but her words, tone and face instantly annoyed the hell out of me. Being already in a bad mood from dealing with people at work, I immediately decided for some reason that there was no way I was going to tell her I didn't work here. I don't know why, but I seemed to think she didn't deserve to know it if she wasn't going to treat someone with basic human respect. "Well, that's rude," I said. That pushed her over the edge. She started yelling, "What's goddamn rude is you goddamn ignoring me when it's your goddamn job to help me. Are you going to tell me where the bathroom fittings are, or do I need to go find someone who isn't retarded?" And she stared, hand on hip, as if I somehow didn't realize that she actually does deserve anything she demands. Why would I help someone who's screaming at me? You have no idea how to treat people properly, do you? I said, getting annoyed. After more yelling, she threatened to get my goddamn manager onto me and that I'll lose my goddamn job, not helping a customer. People around were starting to stare. I gotta admit, something in my head snapped and I upped my volume about 10x. "Hey, be my guest, idiot, get the manager, see if I care. Just piss off. Seriously, stop yelling at me. Go away." She stood there silent for a couple seconds in disbelief that I said that, then stormed off yelling and cursing that I'll be fired, etc. All the while her child was visibly stressing out at all the yelling happening right in his ear. So I go back to looking at heaters, trying to get my adrenaline levels back to normal. I choose one, and after browsing for another few minutes I head to the cashier at the front. And standing there in line is Mrs. Moron and her kid. There's nobody behind her, and I walk up and take the next place in line, wondering if she'll notice me. When it's her turn, she goes up to the cashier and unloads her stuff, but it's fairly noisy in the shop so she can't hear the cashier ask her if she was paying by cash or card. She got flustered and told him twice to repeat. I couldn't help myself. I leaned over and said, "Cash or card, are you goddamn deaf?" She got startled, looked over and recognized that it was me, the unhelpful employee, and started yelling at the cashier that I was the worst store assistant she's ever met, that I should be fired for giving this store a bad name, etc. The cashier looked at me, standing in line with heater and wallet in hand, and said, "Ma'am, he's a customer. No, he works here and he refused to help me." She trailed off, realizing that everything about me indicated my doesn't work here status. She swiped her card, grabbed her stuff and left without another word. I had a laugh with the cashier after explaining what had happened. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.